Welcome to part 2. In this video we'll be looking at how we can add in a comment section and also a map section. We'll begin by adding in some placeholders for our new content. That will be our comment holder. We'll also add a tile map. So that's added. Now we can see here that the Google Maps platform has rejected our request, and that's because I haven't provided an API key. You will need to set up your own API key to get this working. Now in terms of the comments, what we'll have to do first of all is to add a stream that will actually hold the data that backs the comments. So let's go and do that now. Now you recall earlier that we created an analysis model. So we'll open that back up and we'll add on to that a new stream. Call this comments. And again, the period will be set to transactional, as this will be data that users interact with. We'll also set some audit changes on there as well. But we'll need to have on this some attributes to hold our data. The first attribute will be the comment itself. Now we can leave this to be a string. 50 characters isn't very big. What I would recommend that you do for comments is to give them a big string type. And we'll save that. We don't have to put anything in the expression, as the data will not be coming into the stream. It will be being passed to it from an application, so we're not importing data, so we don't need anything in the expression here. The next part is that we'll need to know who the comment relates to. So rather than having a general comment section, we'll have comments that are specific to a particular business. So we'll need to know the business ID. And this will set to be an integer. Okay, so we've got the data placeholders that we need. If I save our changes, then we'll see we get the UID and the audit controls as well. All right, so let's save our comments and save our analysis model and move back to our dashboards. Now we do have the option up here, so we can use that to load our dashboard. So what we'll need to do now is to add some comments to this top right hand corner. Now we can build this up from scratch, but really for the purposes of this demonstration I'm just going to use the complete comments, as I know it has everything in it that I need to. So I'm trying to drag that on here, but unfortunately it's not letting me, and the reason is I haven't unlocked my dashboard. So let's just unlock that and drag back in our comments. Now I do need to hold shift here so that it drops it into the tile. And we can see here that our comments have been added. So the next thing we need to do is to associate our new stream with our comment section. So select the main body of the comments, and that will load up the card component that backs it. Now we can look for the stream name in the drop down. What I like to do is to open up the ETL model and just navigate to it from there. So I still have my ETL model open here. I'll click on my comments and I can drag this into the stream name. So we'll save our changes. I'll minimize that back down. And the other thing is that the comments have no way of knowing what's selected. So like we did with the background, what we'll need to do is grab this UID and just drag that onto the body of the comments. We see here that it will create a background filter for us. We'll say yes. Now this will be slightly different to what we did before, in that we're not going to be filtering by UID, because the UID it's referring to here is actually the UID of the comment, and we want it to be the business UID. So I'm going to change that here. And now what will happen is all comments will be shown where the business UID matches the business UID selected in the grid. And we'll see that in action shortly. Okay. So we have a placeholder. We've got no means of actually adding any comments. So what we'll do here is we'll add a new dashboard. Now for this one, I won't show the Windows button bar, and I want it to always be on top because it's going to be a pop-out window that I want users to enter data into. I won't allow users to resize it. We'll have it as a nice fixed size. So if I save that, that will now open up. And then again, we're going to use one of the pre-configured dashboards here. So we've got form pop-out complete, and this is designed specifically for pop-outs such as this to enter data. So we can see here we've got a nice form that allows us to enter some data. We haven't got any fields at the moment, so let's go and find our comment stream. So I'll pin that here. And I'll need to just go and reopen up that dashboard. I do need to unlock that dashboard, drag in the comment. And now we have a comment holder here that's available. So we need to set this up so we give it some level of indication of what's going on here. So the static text we will set to comment 4. And the dynamic text, what we'll actually do with this one is to populate it with a context variable. So what we'll do is we'll name this to be business name, and then we'll create a context variable with the same name, and we'll see that that actually populates it. So now we need to link our two dashboards so we can enter some comments. Now if I drag my comments editor dashboard on top of a button, the button will do is actually create an action that will allow us to open up that dashboard. So now if I lock my dashboard and I click the button, you can see it opens up the comment editor. So unlock your dashboard, and we need to do a couple of extra things. So the first thing we'll do is we'll let the action know who we're editing. So we'll take the UID and drop that again onto that action, onto the button. We can see here it's going to automatically create a context variable for us. Now we don't want to call it UID because it's not the UID of the comment, it is actually the business UID. So we'll save that. And then we'll also pass across the name so we can populate that dynamic text. So we'll drop that on as well. I'll call this business name. Now you can call these whatever you want them to be, but ensure that your context variable that you're creating here has the same name as the dynamic text on the dashboard, otherwise the two won't link up. So with that done, if I now lock my dashboard again, by clicking on the add comment, we can see we've passed across the business name, which is good. Now if you right click on your dashboard, you can actually show the context parameters so we can see what's actually being passed across at the moment. So we're passing across the business name and the business UID, which is good. So the next thing we need to do is to add a UID. Now because this is a new comment, we don't actually need a UID, but I'm going to put in a placeholder for it because when we come to edit, what we'll actually be doing then is we will be passing across the UID. So that means our dashboard is expecting a UID. So we've got our comment editor here. So let's edit that. And actually what we'll call this is new comment. And we'll see we have our context parameters here, and we'll also add a UID. Now I'll set this to null as I don't want to pass it across at this point. I just need to have a placeholder for it. Okay, let's save that. And if I click on this plus, you can now see I'm able to enter a comment. We can see here now, because we have a comment actually added, the conditional formatting is now showing the additional buttons that we had. Now for comments, we don't want to add new ones from here, we'll be doing it from the screen below. So let's unlock our dashboard. I'm going to remove that new button. And also with the deletion, we will be providing a delete button directly on the comment. So again, I'll select this and that will be deleted. Okay, so I'll lock my dashboard and move back. And we can see that our comment has been added. Now if I select another record, we can see this business has no associated comments. To set up the update button, it's exactly the same process, except this time we'll set the UID, and the UID needs to be _form.uid. The underscore form just refers to the backing form, and then the UID that is for the record selected. So for example, we've got aardvark selected, so the backing UID will be 1027. So let's see that in action. So the next thing to do is to set up our Google API. So we'll need to unlock our dashboard, select the URL component, and we can see in here there's a section for entering our API key. So I'm going to enter mine in here, and then we'll see that the dashboard will display the map as expected. Now, in order for the map to render, the dashboard does need to be locked or in application mode. So I'll just switch back to locked. And we can see here that we're now displaying the postcode for the record on the left hand side, and the map is rendering. If you want to change the attribute that is used by this, you can just change it up here. So the final thing to do then is really just have a look at the layout of this screen and see if we're happy with that. We could probably do with having a slightly larger grid area, and maybe have a look at the update area. So let's have a look at how we do that. So what we'll probably want to do here is to change the way that this is laid out slightly. So let's go back to our repository. And we'll look at the tile container again. Now at the moment this is set to columns. We change this. We're going to change it back to row, and that will help to make it more responsive. But again, this doesn't look great, so we need to now set some of the proportions up. So if we start to look at our tiles in order, I'll just move the comments next to the grid. And then the next thing we want to do is to change the size of the tiles. At the moment they're equally sized, but if we go into one of the tiles, what we'll be able to do here is to either change its growth factor, so we can make this much larger in proportion to the others. Alternatively, we can set a proportionate width. So here, if I make this one, let's make it 70% screen. What we see then is that our grid pushes out. We get a normal sized comments area on the right hand side, and then we've got two areas down here on the bottom left that are equally sized. And again, if we wanted to make the data entry area slightly larger, we can just come down to that, go into our tile, and let's make the growth factor for this 8. And we'll see that that becomes much larger. So you can either use the percentage or the growth factor, whichever you prefer. And there we have it. We've built our application. All the specifics we've gone through in this video are covered in separate videos. So if you want to find out more about things like Flexbox and how we can lay these areas out, for example, the data entry area here, there is a styling video that will help you to understand how that works. So I hope you found that useful, and you can now go off and create your own application.